The official minor league of the NBA is the G League, but referring to it as the second highest basketball league in the world would be pretty foolish when you consider the absurdly low salaries true G League players are paid. Don't get me wrong, there does exist some terrific talent here, but it is mostly in the form of actual NBA players and two-way guys who get sent down for court time every now and then. Unfortunately, as a whole, over half a G League roster realistically has zero chance of getting an NBA opportunity anytime soon, just because they aren't talented enough. That is why we see most mid-season signings come from guys either sitting at home or players who spent the year competing in a high-level foreign league. But there does exist a unique type of pro who chooses to turn down better-paying overseas options in favor of playing in the G League. The number one reason for this usually comes down to finances, as they don't have to worry about the money because they're already set for life. But also because these guys, they just are desperate to try to get that call back to the NBA, and they believe playing close to the NBA is their best way of getting this chance. Today, I thought it would be fun to take a look at a few of those G League guys who fit that description. Remember, these are not two-way contracts. These are true G League players fighting for an opportunity to play in the NBA one more time. Before we get started, please do me a big favor and like the video, as it helps me out a lot more than I think you guys realize, and subscribe for more basketball-related content. I am trying to hit 2 million subscribers this week, so let's make that happen. Now, let us get started. The first player I wanted to highlight today was a former number 3 overall pick way back in 2015. Jahlil Okafor early on looked like he was going to be more than just a solid NBA big man. Looking at his first year in the league, where he finished top 5 in Rookie of the Year voting, he was extremely impressive statistically. But when you zoom out and add context to the numbers, you realize how underwhelming he actually was. This year, Philly finished with an overall record of 10-62, which resulted in them having the 3rd worst record in NBA history. Okafor, as a traditional 5 who thrived playing a slowed-down back-to-the-basket playstyle, did not make sense in the rapidly evolving 2010s NBA. This was the era where pace of play skyrocketed and three-point shooting went wild. All of the league's classic big men were either pushed into early retirement or they were forced to evolve their playstyle to fit in. Okafor was one of the very last old-school bigs taken in the draft lottery. Philadelphia either failed to notice the turning tides or they thought they could transform his game. Either way, after averaging 17-8 as a rookie, his production fell off a cliff over the next 3 years. He then bounced around the league a little bit trying to make his playstyle work, but by 2021 he had played his final NBA game. Rather than just give up though, Okafor embarked on an overseas career that saw him further develop his bag of tricks in China, Spain, and Puerto Rico. He is still a classic back-to-the-basket bruiser at heart, there is no questioning that, but Okafor has slimmed down a bit and now moves far more fluidly than he used to. His handle of the ball has improved, which helps him create scoring looks in the one-on-one, and his jump shooting has become far more dependable than it used to be. He even now has an infrequent but halfway reliable three-point shot that fell at a 40% clip while overseas. Last year, he made his official return to the NBA sphere, joining the Mexico City Capitans. And this year, he is competing with the Indiana Mad Ants, and he is finding ways to be productive on the court. Right now, he is averaging 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists a night while shooting 65% from the field. Obviously, Okafor is not an ideal modern NBA big. Though his shooting and passing have unquestionably gotten better, he remains a guy who wants to ISO around the hoop. Most NBA teams are not looking for this type of backup big to add mid-season. It also does not help that he has never been a good rim protector, as even with his better physique, the now 29-year-old remains awfully landlocked. Still though, I have been enjoying keeping up with Okafor in 2025. Even if he does not move the needle for a contender, old school 5s who can give you buckets on the block can still be useful in short runs in the NBA. We just may see an Okafor return to the league in the not too distant future. The next guy I wanted to bring up has a last name you probably recognize. John Stockton is the all-time NBA leader in assists. From the 1980s through the early 2000s, Stockton was one of the very best true point guards the league had to offer. His level of production for such a long time is almost unheard of. In case you were not aware, he averaged at least 14 points, 12 assists, and 2.5 steals per game for 8 straight seasons, only missing 4 total games throughout that span. So you would imagine his children likely got some good point guard genes, and that takes us to David. David Stockton has not had the decorated career that his father had, but he has still accomplished a good lot. After going undrafted in 2014, David spent the last 11 years as a true point guard for hire. He has played for no fewer than 14 different pro teams that range from the NBA to overseas to the G League. And he has on more than just a couple occasions represented the United States national team in FIBA competitions. A big reason Stockton is so highly sought after is because of one consistent negative trait that many minor league and foreign teams deal with in their point guard play. And that is they wind up with guys who are purely on the floor to make themselves look good for future opportunities. It is far too common in the G League especially for the team's point guard to be the lead shot taker. Obviously, when looking around the NBA, some of the very best players you can name fit this description, but the reality is this is only an appropriate playstyle for a very few select individuals. For most teams, it is better for their point guard to be a facilitator. Someone who can create looks for himself, yes, but especially does so for others. The point guard is supposed to be the most dependable orchestrator of the offense. A guy who can stop the other team's hot streak by slowing it down and running an efficient play. Or a guy who can keep the ball moving quickly to where it needs to go when his team has the hot hand. David is a true point guard who will join a team and do what the coaching staff asks of him. That's why he has always had teams offering him playing time. This year with the Valley Suns, David has been everything they could have asked. He splits time between starting and coming off the bench depending on the presence of the Suns' two-way point guard Colin Gillespie, but he can always be counted on to do what they need. Right now, he is averaging 13 points, 5 assists, and over a steal a game while knocking down 41% of his threes. He could get promoted to an NBA team at any point and do whatever they need in the backup point guard role. I have always felt David was a couple injuries away from an NBA roster spot throughout his entire career. I think it would be cool to see him get back on the NBA hardwood one more time given how many years he has spent grinding in the G League. As of today, David ranks top 5 all-time in the G League for assists and top 8 in scoring. I think he has earned another NBA look. And the last guy I wanted to give a shout out to today is a guy who last year, while in the NBA, erupted for a 50-point game. Of course, I am talking about Malachi Flynn. Flynn's NBA career seemed improbable. The zero-star, unranked high school recruit who barely stood over 6'1", with only a couple Division I offers, did not enter the NBA draft obviously until the ripe old age of 21. Not many undersized upperclassmen have their names called on draft night typically, but Flynn defied all odds and was a first-round pick at 29th overall to the Toronto Raptors. He then spent the next 4 years honing his craft mostly off the bench. Flynn was quick and had a great basketball IQ, but he was unremarkable as a shooter and he was not a very good athlete. Despite having the best season of his career in 2024, including that 50-point bomb, he found himself without a team coming into this season. Rather than take his game abroad though, like so many other undersized borderline NBA point guards before him, Flynn decided it was not about the money and made the decision to remain in the US to play with the Austin Spurs. San Antonio is a franchise that right now is going through a rebuild around Victor Wembanyama. They are obviously extremely focused on finding the right guard combination to bring out the best in their 7'5" alien superstar. Flynn wants to be that guy. With Austin, he has been dazzling. He is averaging 20 points, 4 assists, and 2 steals per game while draining 38% of his 8 3-point tries a night. His objective is to be the floor general who can feed the ball to and create space for Wemby. Someone who can be counted on to make his threes when the ball gets kicked out to him. As of now, he has not yet gotten a shot with the actual San Antonio team, but as the season goes on, I have a feeling San Antonio may decide to give him a call for a 10-day opportunity. Then Flynn will get some court time and probably a lot more behind-the-scenes practice time that decides what happens from here. Could he at least be their backup point guard of the future? Right now, Flynn is 26 years old, so he's not a kid, but he remains not too old to be a part of this thing for the long haul. Undersized point guards do not rely on athleticism, so hopefully this should mean he can age well to be a long-term use. I know I'm looking ahead an awful lot right here, but I think Flynn should be in the NBA right now, and I hope we get to see him on the court with Wemby sometime during this 2025 season. And that takes us to the end. Thank you guys for watching the video all the way up to the end. I really do appreciate those of you who made it this far. What do you think of the 3 guys I mentioned today, and who else could I have or should I have brought up? The G League is a slowly but surely growing pro league that I want to see thrive, and it is players like these who will take the league to the next level. Let's hope for many more good years. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time.